Okay, we're going to pick this up assuming you scanned your black and white image, saved it as a bitmap or TIFF file. So here we go. We're going to open our file. We've opened Photoshop. We're going to go to File, Open, and open where we saved our scan. In this case, I'm going to open a TIFF file of a cleanup drawing that I scanned in as line art. So I got this drawing. I'm going to open it, Monster Wall Cleanup, labeled 001. File's open. I want to rotate it. So what I want to do here is go to Image, Rotate Canvas, 90 degrees clockwise. I want to rotate the canvas. Now I want to set the mode because I scanned it as line art and bitmap, and I'll go into that in a little bit why we did that. But what we're going to do is adjust the mode so we can paint it. So what I'm going to do here is go to Image, Mode. And it comes in as a bitmap because I did scan it as line art, a black and white image. That's the only colors that are in this image. I'd have to convert it to an RGB color, but I can't do that right away. So what I need to do is first convert it to grayscale, and this little dialog box will come up. Grayscale ratio 1, okay. So we just click OK here. Now my image is in the mode of a grayscale. It's checked as grayscale, and I want to turn it to RGB color. So I click there. Now it's RGB color, and my colors are enabled, and I can paint it as I need to be. Looking at this image, I could crop it down a little bit just to get rid of some of this junk in here that I don't want in the image. So I'm going to use my marquee tool. Whenever I'm painting for these drawings and we scanned in line art, I'm trying to stay away from anti-alias. I don't want anything anti-alias at this point in my production. I want to be nice clean lines that I'm painting up to and filling in and working with, as opposed to blended lines, which that's what happens when you anti-alias something. So as I click on each of my different tools, we have our tool option bar along the top, and I want to make sure that anti-alias is not selected. So that's one thing. So what I'm going to do is select just my character that I want, all the stuff to the outside, and then I'm going to do an image crop, and it's going to bring me down, just brought my image down a little bit. Another thing I want to do right away, I haven't done any painting to it yet. I did make it RGB. I could do this before I RGB it or as a bitmap. It's not as critical, but what a thing I wanted to do is do a file save as. So as I go forward. So I'm going to do a file save as, and I'm going to give it a different name, and I'm going to save it as a PSD file, a Photoshop document. So I have Photoshop PSD, and I got that in my format. And I could keep the same name, but I'm going to put a PNT after it because this is going to be my painted version, and that's just PNT is short for paint.psd file. So I'm going to save it. Doing a little thinking and saving it. Now it's saved. I still have my image selected from when I use my marquee tool. I can choose deselect, and it's no longer selected. I have my toolbar over here. What I could do is use my magnifying glass to zoom in a little bit and see it. Just look a little bit around Photoshop. I'm spreading this out. I can use this to do it. If you use your space bar, you get this little hand and you can move your image around if you need to. Over here, I have my layers, and if your layers aren't displayed, you would find those in Window, Layers, and that it would display it. And Photoshop's a great program because you can build on layers and do it. For the most part, for our painting, we'll probably just stay with one layer. There may be times you want to go to different layers. The more advanced you get, more layers you work in, the more flexibility you will have. But just starting off, let's just stay with one layer as we move forward today. So now that I have this, I want to choose my paint bucket tool. And I think the default paint bucket tool, I'm going to go back to this, is hidden behind this gradient tool. In our toolbar, we have different tools that are nested within each other. And by nested, I mean if we look at these little black arrows, triangles, you select it and you see that we have a choice of two tools that take up this one space. In this case, I want my paint bucket tool. And I want to look up here again at my toolbar, and I want to make sure that anti-alias is not selected. I don't want to paint with anti-alias. And then we have our swatches where I can pick colors for my character. I have a green. I want to pick a green. So what I did is click that. It brought up this dialog color picker box. And I'm going to kind of look here. As I move this around, the color is changing here in this upper box. The lower box shows the color I started with. So I'm looking around. Let's go with this color green. Maybe a little lighter. Maybe here. I like that color. Say OK. That it shows in my top swatch box here. You can switch back and forth in the swatch box. Let's say I want to just pick a short color just to start with. I hit this little arrow. You can also hit the X key as a quick key. Go back and forth. But if I click it, I select this. Now the white, let's say I could pick a color for the shorts. I'm going to go with some blue shorts just to see. Right now, the beautiful thing about painting in Photoshop is you can change the colors later very easily. Okay, so now I have this color on top is a color that is active, and that's the color I'm painting with. My background is selected, so that's the layer I'm painting on. If I had created another layer by choosing here, create new layer, and now this is the layer I'm painting on. If I want to come back and paint my background layer, so I'll just show you here. I'll just use my bucket fill on my new layer I created. Fills in the whole screen. I don't like that. I'll do a Control Z, Apple Z on the Mac. Come back to my background layer. So that's the layer I'm painting in. And I'll come up to my character. I'm going to switch my swatches. So my green's on top. So I'll hit the X key, or you could just click this little arrow, switch foreground, background colors, and fill. Alright, what happened here? It shows I have a leak. Somewhere my lines are not closed off and it's bleeding out to the outside of the image. So what I want to do is kind of zoom in on my image and find out where it is. First thing I'll do is Control Z to get rid of the fill. And on that Mac it's Apple Z, and then I'll hit my Z key or select the magnifying tool. When you select a tool, you see that it says zoom tool Z parentheses. Z is a quick key. So as I zoom in, I'm going to kind of look around my image for where there may be a break. And up here I have a break. And now with this case, I could fill it in with a black line. And what I might do is just keep my green that I want. Go to my blue. A true black that I scanned it in would be 00. I'm going to show you another way you can get it. I just select here on the black and you see that it's 000. These are your RGB readings. So that's a good way to keep track of colors that you make. If you can remember your RGBs or write them down if you want to come back to a specific color. So I'll hit OK. Now what I want to use is my pencil tool. And the pencil tool is nested in with the brush tool. But the pencil tool will draw it as a crisp line as opposed to an anti-alias line. The paintbrush will do an anti-alias blended line. The pencil tool will do a nice crisp line. So now I'm going to go for that pencil tool. I got my size here. Opacity is 100%. Because the pencil tool is not saying anti-alias, I know it will not. The black's highlighted, so now I can just fill it in here. Now if I want to make this bigger, you could use here to increase your pixel size. You could go here, and another way to select your pixel size is your brackets, which are located just to the right of your P key, the letter P. And if I step up on those, you can see that the size is getting bigger. I step down on them, they're getting smaller. So those are your brackets there. So if I look there, I kind of closed off that edge. I'm holding my space bar to get this little hand, and I'm scrolling through the image. And I'm kind of looking for spots where there might be gaps. A little gap right down here. If I zoom in again, I can see it. Now, because I have my pencil tool, if I hit brush, I'm back to my pencil. I want to make that a little smaller. I don't like that so much. I can just change it. Look through the hand. So as I'm up close like this, a bleed here is not so bad because the arm's going to be the same color. Just kind of looking through the image to see if I have any more fills. Looking pretty good right now. I could just fill that little bit, dot in there, hit some of those dots in there that I'm up this close. There's another way we could go about fixing those, but for right now I'm here. Photoshop and doing this process, there's a lot of little tricks, but I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible so we can learn um, as fast as we can in our short time frame. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to select the Z key, which is the magnifying glass. So hit Z, and I want to zoom out. I'm going to hit on my PC, it's Alt. On the um, Mac, I think it's Option, but when you select it, you'll see that it turns to a negative sign there, and I click. I'm holding that key, so I'm getting smaller on it. So now I'm going to come back to my paint bucket tool. It's not anti-aliased. I have to switch my colors back there, so I'm going to switch it to the green, fill, and it looks like I got my gaps. So then I can fill in here, fill in fingers, feet colors. So now I can pick colors for the nose. Maybe I want to go a darker color, green. So now this is where, this is the subjective part of you, the artist, picking your colors. You're just going to come through and fill them in. And let's say I want to use that same green for the eyebrows. And now I can see these there. I might want to zoom in to get into those areas a little bit more. I can use the bucket. I'm going to use the K, or nope, not K, the G key is for the paint bucket. I'll scroll over this. Paint bucket tools G. I can fill it with this. I hit the black line. I didn't want to do that, so I'm going to do Control Z. I could also go to my pencil tool. And there's some other tricks I could show you, but I want to try to keep this short and simple for right now. So if I want to give the darkness, let's say I want to give this dark eyes here, I'm going to go a little bit lighter than this, kind of mix in between the two colors. And again, this is the subjective part, you as an artist. So I got a bleed there. Control Z, go back to my brush tool, and I could use the same color there. And fill that in, fill that in. Say I want to come back to this color. Now I'm in my pencil tool. I hit the brush, the B key, and I brought myself to the pencil tool. And I want to pick this color again. And it's not here right now. It's this color here. The easy way to do that is hit the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and select it. You see it brings up the picker colors, little what are we calling that? Blah, blah, blah. But you see the symbol. So I select that, come over here, and then I put that green in there. Now maybe I want it to be black. That's too big of a green. My paintbrush is a little big. So I want to fill the eyes. I'll fill them in black. Let's say I do the pupils of the eyes. I'll do a yellow color. So you can switch between these colors. You have different choices, different way of viewing them. Just experiment a little bit. Again, I can't show you everything in this short tutorial, but be bold and experiment and see what it can do. And it doesn't take too long to try some different things. And I don't want to draw too much in here. I want to try to keep my pencil drawing to be what I drew, but I see those eyes. I can maybe make them a little bigger. I'm not going to spend too much time doing some redrawing of my image. I got the yellow eyes. I'm going to give them yellow teeth, so I'm going to hit the X key, switch it so the yellow's in the front here. My G key. So I like using quick keys so I can move around faster. Fill in the toenails. It's up to you. Again, your palette choice is you, the artist, picking out what colors you want it to be. I had lost that blue that I had picked earlier. I'm going here. I'll just see how that looks. And then I want to zoom out. Hit the zoom. Then I have my Alt or Option key. And pull back and see what I have as far as the painting of the character. So I got my character painted in. It didn't take too long. And that's the way to go about doing it. There's other tricks, to put shadows and things on. But we're not going to go into that right now. What I want to say is you want to save early, save often. So I did give it a different name. So I'm going to do a file save. And it's also Control S will do that. Or Option S on the Mac. Or Apple S. So I'm saving it. And it's saving it as a PSD right now. And that's good because PSD is retaining those lines. And we'll pick up on this, what we do next in the next tutorial.